When you think about somebody that's looking to get into development, my mind immediately goes to seminars. They rent out the ballroom at the hotel and they pack everybody in there. I'm guessing it's between 90 and 95% of the people in that room have paid really good money to be there. They're usually getting a pretty good education, and that's all they get. They literally stop there. We're taking people that either don't know how to do development and getting them into the small projects, or we're taking people that are into the small projects and helping them move to the next level.
Hey, in today's video, we're going to talk about the landscape of acquiring properties and the development pipeline in today's high interest rate environment. A lot has changed since rates have doubled up, which means there are different investing opportunities out there. So I have Nathan Adams with redT Homes here to talk about the landscape, talk about his background, and also talk about a very unique program that redT has called the Developer Incubator Program. So if you've had that itch to go out there and develop a property, make sure you listen in. Good morning, Nathan.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I always value anytime I get to sit down and meet with you or do a podcast because I always learn so much. You have so much experience, so much track record, and you just know what's going on. So jump into it and tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so nearly 20 years doing this and in the thick of it all day, every day, oftentimes up before 5 a.m. and I'm looking at what news hit that's tied to real estate. So I don't know how many hours, tens of thousands, maybe a million. I don't know. I've never really sat down and figured it out. But I've been in the thick of it since 2025, maybe even 2024 if I count my very first home purchase.
2025? You got the wrong...
2005.
There we go.
Thank you. Need more caffeine today. So, been in the thick of it since 2005. Could maybe inch back to 2004 when I bought my first property, which really kind of kicked things off. Founded redT Homes. I've owned redT Homes really for the last 19 years, although it started as a team at a brokerage, eventually arrived at being its own brokerage, and then fast forward to today, and it's acquisitions, it's an entitlement team, it's architecture, it's construction in-house that comes with purchasing as well. I mean, literally a team of 5 there, onto the brokerage for the sales and marketing of any of the developments that we do or our clients do.
And in your career, you as a person and redT, how many deals, how much volume have you guys done approximately?
Oh gosh, we're somewhere close to about 1,500 units of development. If we count current projects, we're pushing 3 figures. We're pushing 100 projects at this point.
So this is not your first rodeo? Not
my first rodeo. And that was really just the ground up stuff. I'm not counting any of the remodel stuff, and that's going to push north of 500 units.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And give us a sneak peek about the incubator program. Because, I've known you for a while, and then either you or one of your team members kind of gave me the high level of it a year ago. And I was like, oh, that sounds really, really interesting. And so in your own words, what is it?
Yeah. So I've got to give credit to Paul Coe, our chief investment officer. He really coined the incubator program. I would say that the incubator program really started 11 years ago. It started in 2013. I didn't know it was starting at the time, but we had acquired a good number of deals. We were really just on a roll and we're putting deals together. They were good deals. They made sense. We got them into the queue, started the entitlement process, getting plans together, getting all of our due diligence done. And I woke up one day and said, oh no, we might have more deal flow than we're going to be able to act on.
So almost like a good problem, right? Like you found so many good deals, then you have to... Is that a correct way?
So it was a phenomenal problem. It didn't feel like a phenomenal problem when I woke up that day, and literally talking to you, my memory is coming back of waking up and going, oh shit.
A little PTSD there?
Yeah, exactly. A little PTSD of going, what are we going to do about this? We've got dollars invested in all of these deals. And I picked up the phone that day, it was probably that morning, and I started calling other developers that I knew, colleagues. We even had some clients at that point, although it wasn't nearly to the level that it is today. And I was really happy with what was happening on the other end of the phone, because I'm calling and saying, hey, I've got a problem. I've got multiple deals. I'll sell any of them. I believe in them all. They're all great deals. You could pick whichever one you like. I'll develop whatever's left. And on the other end of the phone, I hear this. Wait a second. You have a deal that's within months of issuance of permits and you're willing to sell it to me? You'll literally let it go. And now my wheels are spinning and I'm like, wait a second. We have upside in these. We're making 50, 100. We had a deal, oh gosh, probably 8 or 9 years ago, the $750,000 entitled land flip. Now there's some extenuating circumstances to that deal that we don't have time to dive into today that drove it to that. But I would say the incubator program was really born then because we were identifying, entitling, prepared to see these deals the whole way through. The majority of what we did back in 2013, I think we probably sold 4 or 5 deals off. We stayed in the brokerage on those deals. We didn't have construction at the time or architecture. So we fed them the deal. They stayed on with the architect we were with, and then that moved over into construction and eventually back to us to handle the sales. So as time passed, we did a lot of that. And back in the day, we used to call it move up developers. So somebody that was doing a fix and flip that was like, I don't quite know how to break into new construction. They would come to us, we would help identify the deal, help them through the process. And then we got some people that were like, I'm doing single family and duplex ground up. I'd really like to do townhomes or do multiples. So our longest running client has been with us, I think, since 2011 or 12.
Oh, so one of the originals.
Yep. They were doing fix and flips. We helped them get into the new construction side of things. Then we helped them move up into townhomes. Then they eventually built 2 5-story condo projects, and they're off and running, doing a very large volume of business. We still do some work together, but they've got stuff going with other brokers. They do a lot of the thing that many developers do. It's like, hey, if you bring me the deal, I really like the deal, I'll get you the commission on the back end. So they're not exclusive with us like they used to be, but we still do business together. So we got to watch them move up multiple phases as they went through the process.
Oh, that's gotta be fun.
Yeah. So a year or two ago, Paul, who I mentioned earlier, is starting to talk about, hey, this is like, we should call this the incubator program. Like we're taking people that either don't know how to do development and getting them into the small projects, or we're taking people that are into the small projects and helping them move to the next level.
Yeah. When Paul was originally telling me about this, I was like, that sounds amazing. And then as I got more details, my mental metaphor was just this silver platter that, redT puts a few deals on with all the other condiments I need. And Paul's just pushing over to me like, really? This is amazing. This doesn't happen too often.
Yeah.
So today, what's the incubator program look like?
So today is a lot different than a couple of years ago. The land market, it's a little easier. It's a little easier to acquire deals. So what it looks like for us is when we have somebody new that comes to us, we do some initial vetting to make sure that they're in a good spot financially, that they can do things, that they're legitimately ready to pull the trigger, and they come in. And it's not always the first meeting, but sometimes the first meeting evolves into looking at deals. And if they're at a point where they're not quite ready to go to that level, it's just a conversation early on. And when they get ready, then we open up the pipeline. And when we open up the pipeline, we are looking at everything that we've identified and we've vetted. So as a company at present time, we're right around 680 units of development at either some stage of planning and entitlement, construction, or for sale. Every developer, at least the ones that I know, the local, the small, the medium sized, you eventually bump up against the ceiling where you're not going to be able to sign on more deals. We haven't hit that no yet, but we also know that it's good to get some off the plate, add more. And because the deal flow is plentiful, we're able to find more than we're able to do ourselves. So we've got 680 in there, and about a third of that's clients of ours. 2/3 of it is us. And as we identify more deals, we don't want to let them sit there and say, oh, well, in a month or 3 months when we're ready to buy again, we'll go ahead and step back into this and hope that they're still there. The reality is the good ones are moving.
Well, that's the way real estate goes. Okay, so you guys have this great pipeline of deals coming. Some you control, some from brokers, some from wholesalers. Just your 20 years of networking and doing out there. You have deal flow coming in. You know how to underwrite. And then as someone, let's say I want to come in there and say, I like this. I want to do, a duplex or fourplex with you. I'm buying the property, right? I'm taking the loan out. And then where is redT assisting besides just, hey, here's a great property, great deal?
Yep. So without getting too far into the weeds, we're helping identify the property. So brokering the deal at the start, depending on the deal. So there are deals out there now that are partially entitled, some all the way up to fully entitled. If we line out a 50 to 100% entitled deal, we're not going to blow things up and say, hey, let's, move on from that architect, bring it over to us. So we'll run that out with them. Anything that's not entitled, we're typically coming in, we're handling the architecture end. That's then moving to the construction arm of our business and then eventually moving over to the brokerage side.
So the incubator client is still working with redT through all the planning, construction, and all of that.
Yep. There's a few things along the way that we don't have in-house. We don't do civil engineering. We don't do structural engineering. And then anytime we get into MEP, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, which for townhome product, for single family, for duplex, you don't get very far into that. You really get into substantial MEP drawings and costs when you're into bigger product, 5-story plus product.
Last question before we move on to like the state of the market. What's the right type of like investor avatar for the incubator program?
So the first thing that pops to mind is somebody that's willing to pull the trigger. When you think about somebody that's looking to get into development, my mind immediately goes to seminars, and they pack the room. They rent out the ballroom at the hotel and they pack everybody in there. And if you go to one of those and you look around the room, I don't have an exact metric, but I'm guessing it's between 90 and 95% of the people in that room have paid really good money to be there. They're usually getting a pretty good education, and that's all they get.
Yeah.
They literally stop there. So key number one in that avatar is somebody that's willing to take action, not somebody that's coming in and saying, I'm really interested in this. Oh, I really like those deals that you guys have. And then you see the excuses coming. Oh, I don't quite have as much money or access to the money that I thought I had. Or I had one recently where they're pulling comps from other neighborhoods to make the deal look worse. I'm like, guys, we have comps within a few blocks. We need to come back to the neighborhood.
That's how you comp properties too.
Yeah. It's not like it's, you look at Denver and we all know Cherry Creek, right? That's going to command a very high price. Well, if we're evaluating a deal in Cherry Creek, we don't just run up to North Park Hill where the values are lower. And I'm being dramatic to kind of prove a point and say, well, gosh, in Denver, a 3-bedroom, so it's really only a $600,000 property. And you guys are saying in Cherry Creek, it's going to be 1.2 million or higher. And then the deal's going to fall apart. So it's also nice with that avatar to have some semblance of experience. I definitely don't want somebody coming in and saying, hey, I've been a barista all my life. I've inherited a bunch of money and I'm ready to do development. And we say, okay, talk to us about your experience. Do you own your own home? Have you owned any rental property? Have you done any renovation work? Nope, nothing. I'm ready to dive straight into development. Let's go. That to me is pretty scary. And we'd probably be a no on our end in a situation like that.
No, that makes sense. It's got to be the right fit.
Yep.
And that's one of the things I like about what you and redT do is you make your money by doing the deal, not by, you're the guru doing the deal, not the guru on stage talking about the deal and education. So that's one of the things that when I talked to you and Paul Coe about it, I was like, heck yeah.
I love that you said that because we aren't teaching and charging. So when we're having meetings and multiple meetings and follow up and asking questions for somebody who's really looking for nothing more than a higher level understanding and education and not willing to pull the trigger, that would be our anti-avatar. We're not taking a fee for this.
Yeah.
We are only taking in revenue if somebody is taking action. So it's key that we've got some action or at least intent to take action.
Great. I'm glad you clarified that. All right, move on to the current state of the market on what it looks like now and just the kind of current pipeline overview, what you have, across your desk right now.
Yeah, current state of the market. We're building inventory a little bit right now, but we're still really low. We're at 3 months of inventory. Now that feels like a lot of inventory because we got all the way down to like a half month of inventory at the absolute craziest part of the market. And what that's also doing is it's loosening up the land market a little bit. So we're seeing a far better ability to grab higher margin deals. We're seeing a better chance at having terms in your offer. And when I say terms, what I mean by that is not, hey, we like this property. In order to get it, we're going to have to close in 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. You're able to actually contract to get an adequate amount of due diligence done, get your soils, your survey, any environmental analysis done, get through some of the preliminary meetings with the city before you need to close. So it's a more favorable market. 2 years ago, we couldn't have pushed the incubator program hard just based on the fact that if we saw a deal that met a 17% margin that frankly we wouldn't even look at right now, if we didn't act on that the same day and try and strategize our way into beating out the 15 other people that we're going to offer on that, we just weren't putting deals together. So if you look at it now, and I'll read a little bit from my notes because I took down some of the info here. We've got 12 deals in that pipeline right now. One of them can only go to us. It's a unique deal. It's in a master plan community. They're only looking at us. So that means 11 of the 12 that we've got in there are viable deals for somebody else to take over. And these are deals that are at a 20% plus margin. We have way more deals in the pipeline than just that. To us, the sweet spot right now is 20% plus.
That's like kind of what you're targeting for the margin. And that's like, hey, that's a really good deal in the market now.
Yeah. We were fighting to get to a 17% margin just a couple of years ago. And now we've got 12 deals in the pipeline that are meeting that 20% margin. 9 of those deals are pretty straightforward. There's a couple in there that are really unique. We open up that pipeline to people and they start looking. And the very first deal on there says 31% margin, which is outrageous and really hard to come by. I probably should take it out because at the end of the day, I end up having to tell the story of, look, this is an 88-year-old woman. She has 5 daughters. They're all trying to make the decision together. And the land that they have is half in Littleton and half in unincorporated Arapahoe County. It has an incredible amount of hair on it and family dynamic that's going to make that deal a little difficult to come together.
So higher headache, higher risk is why you're seeing a higher potential return.
Yep. Absolutely. And that's the way that it should be. I wouldn't put anybody coming into the incubator program into a deal like that. But the important distinction here is that deal's in the pipeline because it's a deal that we likely will put together at some point in time. And the important note in there is the pipeline that I'm sharing isn't bifurcated into we're keeping the redT stuff over here that looks really nice and exciting, and we're only showing you these deals. We are showing the exact same pipeline in the incubator program that we go and visit when it's time for us to buy. We get in there and we start looking, which one of these should we offer on? What should we offer? So it's literally the same pipeline that we're buying out of. So in there, smallest deal I've got in there is 2 units. The biggest deal I've got in there is 139 units. I've got 279 units of development that's primed, ready to go at asking price. And you don't pay asking price right now, but at asking price, those are hitting a 20% plus margin.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you have good pipeline. Talk a bit more just about more detail on the landscape and kind of why these properties aren't moving like they used to, because they should be flying off the shelves now, right?
Yeah, they should be flying off the shelves. They're primarily infill deals. The national home builders aren't typically doing infill deals. They may occasionally poke around in there from time to time, but they're mostly greenfield stuff out in the suburbs. They're in Parker, they're in Aurora. They're filling in that gap between like Montbello and the airport out there in Denver. So you're usually competing with small to medium-sized local developers on the infill product. We went through COVID. We went through entitlement timelines tripling. We went through great resignation. We went through supply chain issues. Eventually, we went from rates going from 3% to hovering right around 7% today. That put a lot of strain on those developers. Actually put some off to the side, no longer in business, whether by their own choosing or were forced to. And in that happening, your pool of buyers shrank considerably. And some of them are just sitting on the sidelines waiting. With fewer buyers and inventory starting to build on the land side, that creates a phenomenal buying environment. Now, none of us know when rates are going to come down, but the developers that have product, when those rates start coming and that for sale market catches fire again, and look, product's still moving right now. It's just not moving like it was moving 2-3 years ago.
Well, it was also the insanity market, which was not should not be the benchmark. That was the outlier 2 years ago.
Yeah, I sold a house and bought a new one, personal residence then, and was recently telling someone that my wife isn't in love with the house that we're in. We're probably going to end up putting it on the market. And the person looked at me and said, "Oh, you were a COVID buyer." We were a COVID seller and a COVID buyer. We sold our previous home for an outrageous amount, far greater than we ever thought could happen. And we had to make quick decisions really fast. That's just what the market was. And it was that way times 10 for land during that time. So we've absolutely gone the other direction, which is great. You can get terms, you can negotiate on price, you can get to a higher margin. Really is a sweet time to buy.
So, in this time of the market, Warren Buffett's quote always pops in my mind, be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. And, I've gone through this myself with my clients where it is scary out there right now, especially as you read the headlines in the Wall Street Journal, but there's so much opportunity. So how would you balance kind of like the fearful sentiment out there with, hey, here is logic, here's spreadsheet numbers, here's what we can see?
Yeah, so I think you just look at the fundamentals of what's going on. Try and push the noise to the side. So I almost flip the interview on you and say, what direction are rates going to go? What's the probability of them going down versus going up?
Much higher probability going down versus up.
Yeah. And inventory at 3 months is what?
That's still below. We're talking here in Denver, a balanced market is about 6 months. Yep. So we are still well below historical average. So it's still technically a seller's market.
Yeah. And if you do bring in the noise and you listen to what everybody's saying, I think you're going to have a much higher probability, especially those in the know. Take like a Barbara Corcoran, who's saying as soon as that Fed cut comes and signals that we're on a rate decline, the real estate market will absolutely catch fire. I think there are a lot of people that are in the camp that those rates are probably moving down later this year.
Yeah.
So with inventory low, with rates likely headed down, something that you're buying now, you're not delivering it tomorrow. It's not a fix and flip where you're going to remodel it 30 days, put it back on the market.
Yeah, walk me through the timeline on this. So I'm personally interested in incubator programs. So let's say I come grab, you got 11 deals that would fit my buy box and fit my ability. What's the timeline of it?
So it depends on what municipality you're in. So I'll focus on Denver because a lot of the other municipalities are maybe a little quicker or a little slower. Denver's kind of sitting right in the middle. If you do just a single family or a duplex, you're probably looking at about 9 months to get a permit. You're looking at another 7 to 9 months to get it built out and then sold after that. So on your quickest deals, you're not really delivering product until it's probably 16, 17, 18 months out. So you have a little bit of time in there. So you have to think, what do I believe things are going to look like in a year and a half? Now, if you're going to 3-plex or bigger, because that's the difference in the review at Denver. 2 units and fewer is a much quicker review. 3 units and above, you're looking at a longer review. So you're probably looking at 18 to 24 months to get to permits. And then the bigger the project, the longer it's going to take to build it. Longer it's going to take to sell it out as well.
What would you say the approximate timeline? Let's just say that a duplex versus a 4-plex.
Yeah, so duplex, you're at that, call it 16-month mark. A 4-plex, let's say you get to your permits in 18 months, you had a 9-month build out, you're at 27. So you're almost a full year longer.
Okay. So What other details do you want to discuss about like the deals you guys have or just the landscape of the market?
I've made it clear that land's not moving at as quick a pace. But the reality is the good deals, especially the listed ones that are listed at a place that makes sense, are moving. So a lot of people think, oh, well, you said that the land market's moving a little bit slower. I can wait. I can take my time. To a certain extent, you can. And if you're going to do a 12, 18, 20 plus unit deal, your decisions are going to be a little slower. Most of the people that are going to come into the incubator program are going to look to start small. I had one literally just last week. I had 2 or 3 people look at it, taking their time, waiting around. And the moment one of them who was looking at it and saying, hey, there's already a duplex there. Like this could be a covered land play. Let's get in. Let's see how much remodel work we need to do. And then we'll move on it. As soon as we looked to gain access, the broker said, we're going under contract today with someone else. Multiple buyers disappointed. I'm like, guys, I'm pushing to move. I'm pushing for you to take action. So that happens.
So on a deal like that, just in general, like what type of like capital, you talked about experience, what type of capital does someone typically need for one of these smaller deals?
Yeah, that's going to be relative to risk appetite. So there are different buckets of money out there. You could be really conservative and go to bank financing and put, 30, 40, 50% down. And that's going to give you a lower monthly interest carry. It's going to give you a lower origination amount. It's going to give you more time to, if sales are slow, if you had a construction delay, you had an entitlement delay, whatever that might look like, that cheaper money is going to give you more time. If you're looking at it and saying, I've got it a limited amount, I am aggressive in life, I want to go in there and push. And this was me when I first started, very aggressive.
I like leverage, yes.
Yeah, you can go with a higher leverage loan that adds additional risk to it. So it's literally, you're moving up and down the scale of the risk tolerance.
I mean, can LTV go up to like 80%, or what would you say?
Yeah, I don't really like people going much above 80, 85.
Okay.
Sometimes 90, and you get some debt fund money out there that'll go to 90%. There are banks out there going to 80 right now. That was surprising to me. First Bank.
No way.
Yeah, we've had a few clients recently that have
That's a change in tune.
Yeah, they've secured financing at 80%. So that was interesting to me to see that the banks are going that high. Cool. Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't money out there that goes to 100%.
But just a little too risky in your eyes?
Yeah, I don't like seeing somebody jump into their first deal at a true 100%.
Yeah, you kind of made me a little nervous saying 100%. That is definitely on the higher side. Awesome. Well, Nathan, this is great. I am appreciative of you coming on here and talking about the landscape, and also that we can work on the incubator program together. So we're going to have you back to talk more about the market. Anyone out there, if they're interested in the incubator program, reach out to us. Let us know. We have more details. We have a questionnaire you can fill out to kind of start the process to start learning. As Nathan said, it's it's a two-way street. Want to make sure that the person's the right fit for there, and also a redT's right fit for the person. So Nathan, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Always appreciate the time with you.
It's always fun being here.